Help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content. Before y'all even say anything, I get till New Year's, okay? I get till New Year's to have to take down these lights. And it was a lot of work to put them up. It's going to be a lot of work to take them down. But I get till New Year's before I get to be judged if these lights are still up. But that's not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is the reports, and take it with a lump of salt because the reports are coming from Josina Anderson, who has been proven to be not the most reliable source of information, especially over the last couple of years. I would say since Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry have left the building, there have been some questionable reporting from Josina about the Cleveland Browns. And even when Odell and Jarvis were here, the reporting about the Cleveland Browns was very questionable. So take this for what it is. But Tom Telesco and who else was it? Was it Chris Greer? Chris Greer have both met with the Cleveland Browns about roles in the organization or somewhere along that. What we do know for a fact is that Tom Telesco and Chris Greer have met with the Browns. We don't really know what the nature of that meeting is and what the reasoning behind it, and most importantly, like who attended those meetings, right? Now, just some background on both of these guys before we have a larger discussion about them. Tom Telesco is a long-time scout who got a general managing job in 2013 with the San Diego Chargers at the time, and kept that job until 2023. And then the Las Vegas Raiders job in 2024, where he got fired after one season. Chris Greer is another long-term scout who was the general manager of the Miami Dolphins from 2016 to 2025. Now, I don't think I have to explain this, but the fact that the Browns are meeting with him and it's likely Andrew Berry involved with these meetings, I don't think this is about hiring another GM. I think this is more or less about inquiring about more of a consultant role, like kind of a senior personnel executive, similar to what John Dorsey is for the Detroit Lions, just another voice to add into the room when it comes to the Browns scouting decisions. If we actually look at how the Browns front office is laid out, it starts to get pretty like intricate and complicated. So there was that theory that this could be about not Kevin, but about Andrew. It could be about Kevin. I don't think it's about Andrew because I think more than likely Andrew was involved with these meetings. There is the idea of, maybe this is to try to replace John DePodesta, right? John DePodesta left. They haven't really filled his role. The initial reports were that they weren't looking for somebody to fulfill his role anymore, but maybe they changed their mind. Tom Telesco is a guy with 11 years of general manager experience. And then you have Chris Greer with another 9 years of general manager experience. And maybe that could be how the Browns are attempting to reshape their front office by having one of these guys step in and take over that role. Again, I doubt this is the case with these two. I don't think that this would be how they would go about it. Again, like think about DePodesta's background, what DePodesta was known for, and then these guys. It's not really the same thing, right? Like they brought in DePodesta for organizational structuring purposes. None of these guys would have experience with that sort of thing. So I don't think that would make sense. I think that's what most people are defaulting to when they hear these names. I don't necessarily think that that's the case either. I have two main theories, and I'll explain why I think that these are my main theories after the commercial. But I'll tell you my two main theories real quick before we even get to the sleeper break. One, he's talking to them and discussing a role for consulting in like a head coaching search. I think that would make a ton of sense, right? These guys were general managers for a very long period of time. They've looked for coaches, both of them. They've been a part of coaching searches. Maybe he's identified them as people who might be helpful in that situation, or somebody that, like we know Andrew's close with like Rand Carthon, and maybe Rand is like, hey, these guys can consult if you're looking to hire a coach, because, Andrew Berry's never hired a coach before. I think that's my main theory behind this whole thing. Like, that's what seems likely is, hey, he's reaching out to a couple of guys who don't have jobs, who have experience as general managers, to help be a part on a freelance basis of their coaching search going forward, which that's pretty common in the corporate world. It's pretty common in the NFL world to have, former GMs help out on a committee when it comes to trying to find a new hire for an important position like head coach. So that's my main theory for what this is. Another theory is that this could be for, kind of a senior personnel executive job, a lead kind of executive assistant, or like maybe to be one of the VPs of one of the smaller parts of the Browns organizations. I'm going to go through why I don't think that part makes as much sense to me as the coaching search thing. But real quick, let me thank my sponsor, Sleeper. Real quick, just want to let you guys know Sleeper has a new offer here. They're offering a free $20 entry, no deposit required. And also, if you're a first-time user, you also will receive a 100% match on up to $100 when you use the promo code Worst Take. Again, $20 free, no deposit required. Plus, first-time users also receive 100% deposit match up to $100. Join Sleeper. All right, so here's the thing about the Browns organization that I don't think a lot of people understand. This thing is complicated, how like the front office part of it works. It's not as straight up as the actual like literal football operations, like the head coach, his structure of it. The front office has a lot of different bones connected to it, right? So there's football operations in the Cleveland Browns front office, and then there's stuff like player personnel. There are two different departments, right? There is a vice president, my bad, of football operations, and that's Catherine Hickman, who has taken over the position. She is important to remember in this whole thing because she is the person who has the most experience with Andrew Berry and was brought in by Andrew Berry. Glenn Cook was brought in, I think, around the time that they brought in like Sachi, but he's not really like a true blue Andrew guy, right? Now, obviously, they've worked together for a long time. Andrew's first stint in Cleveland and the second stint in Cleveland. But Catherine was also working with Andrew while he was in Philadelphia, in between stints in Cleveland. So there's a lot of experience there with football operations. They also have Bob Quinn, Jimmy Ray, a bunch of other names, Chris Polian as an advisor to the general manager, right? This seems like kind of the head of the scouting department. Now, there is another wing here that is literally just like research and scouting, but that's not the part of the team that decides like who gets picked and who they sign and all that stuff, right? I think that's more close to football operations. And then you have what Glenn Cook is in charge of, which is player personnel. And it could be possible that they're looking for a new VP of player personnel. I highly doubt that that's a role that people with 10 years of general managing experience are going to be willing to take. I think that's a role you give to somebody who's up and coming. Also, the background of Chris Greer and Tom Telesco doesn't really line up with somebody you would hire to be a pro personnel director. And from my understanding of it, pro personnel director is somebody who kind of works in the in-house stuff, right? You scout the in-house players, you're the first kind of contact that the players have. You're the guy that, if you're a member of the Cleveland Browns, you're interacting with a lot. Also the guy who's probably the Grim Reaper when it comes to cutting players at the end of training camp, right? Like that's player personnel life more than likely, right? Just handling the day-to-day 53 man roster in expanded 75 in the summer. So I doubt that that's what that seems like something they would just promote Ken Kovic to. That's not something I think they would hire externally for, and it's not something that I think they would hire. Chris Greer, who spent like a lot of years as a scout, Tom Telesco, who spent a lot of years as a scout. Like maybe Tom makes a little bit more sense there since he did used to be a director of player personnel. But even then, it doesn't really make as much sense. Timing of this, the experience of the guys that they're talking to, my best bet would be that this has to do with the Browns understanding that they're likely to be in another coaching search this offseason, and finding people that they feel like can help them in a coaching search this offseason. I think that's what this is actually about. I could be wrong here. They could retain Kevin Stefanski, but even if you retain Kevin Stefanski at this point, I think you would want to seek some outside counsel about that to make sure you feel like you're making the right decision. I truly think that this has to do with the head coaching search, whether they're going to retain Kevin Stefanski or whether they're going to look into the pool of possible candidates and inquire about what they could do as far as head coach is considered. I think that makes the most sense out of all the things that I've seen floated. Really don't think this has anything to do with Deep Podesta. Really don't think this has anything to do with like replacing Andrew Berry. I doubt that this is about replacing one of his assistants. Again, these guys are way too experienced, way too old to take a job like that. If they joined the organization, I would think it would be as an advisor or as like a senior personnel executive like John Dorsey is in Detroit, where he doesn't really report to anybody. He just gives his input and then they take it for what it is. Like maybe that's something that they're looking at. I don't know why there would be that need right now for that. So it just doesn't make it feel likely. But where I can see the Browns having a blatant need is they don't have a ton of experience in that front office when it comes to a coaching search. And I think that reaching out to those guys for a coaching search makes a ton of sense here. It's just my speculation, so take it for what it's worth, right? The same way we're going to take the report from Joe Cena for what it's worth. But that's my reasoning behind it, my thought process. You can let me know what you think about that down below. But y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.